Hello and welcome to the program that gives you first-hand info on health matters. I am Rekia Mahmoud Awa. Today on the program, we have a bumper package for your enlightenment. A lot of activities took place during the month of April. First was the World Autism Day, which was marked on the 2nd of April, that is 2014. And still on autism will be our topic of discourse. And we have Dr. Shatima of the National Hospital, a pediatrician who will talk to us more on autism. Still on the program, we have a report on World Health Day. Still on World Health Day, some of the hospitals or private hospitals in FCT, as part of their social responsibility, rendered their services to the people of Galadimawa community. And on the program, we have a feature on Al-Amin products. If you want to know more on that, why not stick with us to the end? The program promises to be worth the while if you stay with us.
Autism is a lifelong development disability that manifests itself during the first 3 years of life of the child. The rate of autism in all regions of the world is high, and it has a tremendous impact on children, families, communities, and society. The United Nations General Assembly declared 2nd April as World Autism Awareness Day. The day often features educational events for teachers, healthcare workers, and parents, as well as exhibitions showcasing works created by children with autism.
This year's World Autism Awareness Day is a chance to celebrate the creative minds of people with autism spectrum disorders and to renew our pledge to help them realize their great potential.
There is need to educate the public, to educate our doctors, to educate the teachers. Let them know the signs and symptoms of autism so they can identify these children, diagnose it early, and be able to help them even while in school.
She further explains some of the causes and treatments of autism.
Actually, there is no known cause, but we have predisposing factors. The predisposing factors, there is genetic predisposition, although they're still looking for the specific gene. And then there are other things people say that might predispose a child to having autism, like heavy metal toxicity, inability to detoxify, bacteria, fungal infections, inability to use and synthesize certain foods like milk. Autism cannot be cured, but autism is treatable in such a way that you can treat the children if you start working early with them, early intervention.
Mrs. Helcott Blankson, a trained teacher, founder of Autistic Society and a mother of an autistic child, says the handicapped child should not be neglected.
Since you're a parent of an autistic child, you have to be highly involved because these children live with you all day. Their speech is difficult to understand. It is through repetition and doing the work and bringing eye contact that you can help them tremendously.
The theme for this year's World Autism Awareness Day is Break Barrier, Open Doors.
You're welcome back. Now, most of us do not understand or know what autism is all about. And most times when we are faced with such challenge, it becomes a big problem to handle. So now Dr. Shatima will tell us more about autism.
Autism is a developmental challenges that is common in children. Although there are adults that do suffer from autism, I mean, if there is no intervention in the developed countries, they follow them and realize that even adults can have traits of autism and all that. But basically, it's a developmental challenge that is characterized by abnormality of communications, socialization, and sometimes some repetitive or stereotype behaviors. Yeah, and sometimes also you find that they have problems with cognitive function. That is something that needs an abstract attention. Let me use that word. Yeah. So typically, autism is a developmental challenges that is characterized by poor communication, poor socialization, and stereotype or repetitive behaviors. Now, those three components are major in the diagnosis of autism. This is one of the things that a lot of mothers, whether it's a hype or in reality there's increase in the rate of autism that a lot of people are worried about. Now, the cardinal thing that you will notice is that, one, a child have started talking, mommy, bye bye, daddy, suddenly lost that. Now, that's a warning sign. Then secondly, you realize that the child starts preferring to be alone. He doesn't want to interact with other siblings in the house if he has other things. Thirdly, you may notice that the child is obsessed with a particular toy, such that he can sleep with it, wake up with the toy, and would not want anybody to touch that toy. Or you realize that the child likes staying in one corner of the house. He likes to be alone, not to be disturbed. If you go there and say, what are you doing here? Move into the house. He feels you are invading his world, and therefore he will reject vehemently. Now, these are usually the typical signs that will start telling you that this boy, all is not well. Or you find that when you smile back, he will not smile at you. If you hurt somebody, instead of feeling sorry, you notice that he's indifferent. He doesn't feel that he has done something bad. Now, this should start telling you that all is not well, because under normal circumstances, you realize that a child should show you emotions when he's hurt, when he's feeling happy. When you smile back, he smile back at you. I mean, that's the normal body language that we communicate in a non-verbal way. Now, a child with autism, you realize that he won't be able to do that. He will just be indifferent. Somebody is entering, mommy is entering the house, oh, welcome, bye. He will just turn his face the other way as if nobody entered the house. Now, these are warning signs that all is not well. The child needs to be evaluated. Okay, what we advise is that once you notice either deterioration in the skills of the child, like I mentioned, communication, or that aberrant behavior, we usually advise mothers to take the child to the hospital. Now, I have to sound a caution here. It's not like taking a child with malaria to a hospital. You specifically need to see a developmental specialist or a pediatric neurologist or a child psychologist. These are usually the people that are best suited to evaluate the child. Better you have a better independent evaluation. So that's why the questionnaire needs to be filled by the mother, for example, filled by a doctor, and if possible by a teacher. By the time you see the average score of those three people, you see it minimizes the risk of bias and makes the evaluation or the assessment very genuine. Because it will be terrible for you to say a child has autism while in the true sense of it, he doesn't have. So that's why those checks and balances are kept in, to be sure that the diagnosis is uniform and the procedure for establishing the diagnosis is also uniform. Oh yes, the true sense of it is that we say autism spectrum disorder is a range. You can have the classical one whereby all the three major components that we discuss about, communication, socialization, and repetitive behavior, are all deranged in a particular individual. Now, there are others that will not have the full-blown picture. What that means, he may have problem with communication and socialization, but you notice that he doesn't exhibit the stereotype behavior or aberrant behavior. So it's a range. You can have the full-blown, you can have the moderate, you can have the mild. And there are other conditions too that can mimic autism. For example, there's what we call Asperger's syndrome. It's actually a form of autism, but very interesting about this one is that the child is able to speak. The speech is not affected in such individual, but the other parameters, of course, when you screen, you find it. Then there's also what we call Rett syndrome. That one is more common in girls. You find that they too will have some features of autism, but you find that their intelligence are very, very okay. They usually score about 70 if you check their intelligence score. Then there are some few ones that we call pervasive developmental disorders, not otherwise specified, which means is a problem identified with socialization and communication, but not on a large scale that you find in autism. So these are some types of autism. The etiology of autism is largely unknown. Nobody knows. A lot of genetic factors have been incriminated that, oh, if the father has Tourette, you can also pass it to you. Some also have said autism is due to congenital infections. You know, if a mother is having some infection and she gets pregnant, you are likely to transmit it to the child, especially in the first trimester. So a lot of people have also looked at, is it due to an infection? Others have thought of environmental factors, air pollutions, chemicals in the environment, excuse me, which also affects the brain development of the child. Now, as of today, nobody can tell you tentatively this is what is causing, but there are factors that increases the risk from things like lead, the chemicals in the environment, and you find that as part of the working up of a child with autism, we usually test for all those. Sometimes you find excess of lead, excess of this, sometimes there's abnormality in the metabolism of a particular food substance. For example, they have found that the metabolism of glucose in the brain of children with autism seems to be abnormally slow in a particular part of the brain. So these are all factors that has been incriminated, but nobody can tell you tentatively autism is caused by this alone. Yeah, but some factors are incriminated in it. Autism is prevalent and there's an increase in prevalence. I can tell you that without contradiction. Now, part of the reason, of course, is, let me use the word modernization and awareness. Now, if you remember in those days, most illnesses that are not straightforward to the ordinary person, he will say is an evil spirit. If you remember very well, there are some communities up to date, even ordinary convulsions, they will tell you it's evil spirit because they don't seem an obvious swelling on your body. They don't see your body is hot. So the only possible explanation by them is evil spirit or myth. Now, but that's not true with autism. So autism, I can tell you that is very common. Now, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a very good framework by the government in how to handle, how to manage children with autism, such that you find that it's still largely NGO driven. And if you even probe the NGO, you find that it's because a mother or a relation of one woman has had a child with autism. That's what made them to go into an NGO that looks after children. So it's on the increase. It's here in Nigeria. And anybody that says we don't have cases of autism, I think is not informed. We have them in Nigeria. The prevention is largely, excuse me, largely early identification. That is key in the management of children with autism. Once you identify them early and start therapy early, start intervention early, there are quite a number of them that really do very well with the intervention, such that if they don't tell you, you may not even know that they have had autism in early childhood. So by way of prevention is early awareness and early intervention, and then avoidance of risk factors that are incriminating, like the chemicals in the environments we talked about, exposure to infections from the mother. So that's why during antenatal, we try as much as possible to screen women for infection and make sure we treat them very well because it affects the brain. Because one of the cardinal things I would like to share with you about autism is that when you check the brain by way of CT scan or MRI, the brain looks normal. It's not that there's an abnormality in appearance, but there's abnormality in terms of function. Yeah, that's actually the key. In terms of physical appearance, the brain appears very okay, but the way the brain functions, that's where the problem comes in, and that's why you see them exhibiting those. So what I tell parents is that we look out for it. If you notice in the developed country, there's what they call well child clinic. What well child clinic means is that your child doesn't have any problem. You take him to the clinic at a scheduled time, and the doctor do a thorough examination on the child. Now, the import of that is that you monitor growth and development of that child. You monitor his milestones, whether at 18 months is he able to say, "Daddy, mommy," is this a bye-bye, welcome, mommy, you understand? All those monosyllabic words. Because by doing that, they will be able to detect it. It's very difficult to detect autism less than 1 year, but most of the time it becomes obvious from 1 year to 18 months, and it's unlikely to manifest after 3 years of it. Most of the time by 3 years would have been obvious to even an ordinary person. So the key word here is early identification and then intervention. Yeah, and mothers have been very good at that, because the few cases I've seen is the mother that will say, no, something is wrong. This boy that used to say bye-bye now can't even say that bye-bye. And of course, typical of Nigerian mentality, don't worry, he will outgrow it. Don't worry, he will outgrow it, until it's getting worse.
Now, our health is of primary concern, and that is why a day is set aside to mark the World Health Day. Now, let's take a report on World Health Day, which was marked on the 7th of April 2014.
Celebrated on the 7th of April each year in commemoration of the founding of the World Health Organization in 1948, the World Health Day provides an opportunity for individuals in every community to get involved in activities that can lead to better health. Each year, a team is selected to highlight a priority area of public health. Vector-borne diseases are illnesses caused by pathogens and parasites in human populations. They are commonly found in tropical areas where access to safe drinking water and sanitation systems are problematic. Dr. Bamigboye Ogunbiyi, a medical expert, speaks on this year's theme.
It is a very laudable theme because we still have enormous health challenges emanating from vector-borne diseases, especially malaria.
This year's World Health Day will spotlight some of the most commonly known vectors such as mosquitoes, sandflies, bugs, ticks, and snails, responsible for transmitting a wide range of parasites and pathogens that attack humans and animals. How will this celebration be consolidated to either manage or prevent the disease, and what are the challenges of dealing with vector-borne diseases in Nigeria?
We must look at areas where we can actually stop the multiplication of these vectors, and how we can actually destroy the vectors and nullify them completely. The vector, which is Anopheles mosquito, must be eradicated by our ways of life, by our hygienic habits, and to make sure that drainages are not left untreated.
Speaking further on the day, Dr. Ogunbiyi says the greatest thing that has happened to Nigeria is putting in place primary healthcare centers, noting that they need to be strengthened. As Nigeria joins in marking the day, Dr. Ogunbiyi's message is:
we must all collectively work assiduously to fight against this vector, which is Anopheles mosquito. It's such a tiny creature, and yet he does so much havoc.
The 2014 theme for the World Health Day is vector-borne diseases. This is to highlight priority area of public health, which provides an opportunity for individuals like the Galadima community in the FCT. The team of medical officers under the auspices of a private hospital arrangement were readily on ground, providing the necessary expertise knowledge to the people. malaria, blood pressure, diabetes, among other health concerns were examined.
This is an health awareness visit to educate the people at the grassroots about the endemic diseases in our country and to let them know that by and large they are highly preventable.
We deem it fit that it's right to come and reach out to the less privileged.
The disease is so common that people tend to neglect it, but the importance of it cannot be overemphasized because the disease, especially for kids below the 5 years and pregnant mothers, those are the ones that are more vulnerable to these diseases. Most of the part of prevention has to come from them.
District head of Galadima, Alhaji Musa Barde, who was among beneficiaries of their exercise, said the gesture touched on a major concern of the community.
The community are very happy with the humanity service rendered to us in this very community. The community has been suffering for quite some time now for lack of a facility like health center in Galadima, and that is what we have been appealing to the authority to come to our aid.
The drugs they gave us is free, and the test also is free. They give advice.
Appropriate drugs were administered to those who tested positive on some of the diseases, while counseling them on best hygiene practice to safeguard their health.
Health is wealth. It's a popular saying among all the people of the world. This assertion underscored the importance attached to good health by all individuals. The need for a good health has always led people to seek cure for their various health challenges, from mild headache to serious ailment like diabetes, cancer, amongst others. The aspiration of all is to attain good health and use same as a launchpad for a long and fulfilled life. As a trained pharmacist, he commenced his foray into herbal medicine by applying the orthodox training he received as an industrial pharmacist from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University Zaria into all his researches, thus ensuring that they meet the basic standards for all his products.
We have received new approvals, product approvals, 5 of them, and on the list are DAPS2, which takes care of various complications of diabetes, including the unhealed ulcers of the leg. With this approval of this new product in a combination therapy, can cure such ulcers either inside or outside the body. So the diabetic ulcer that used to be an issue all over the world is now resolved by this listing done by NAFDAC.
In a world where health authorities like World Health Organization and others encourage people of the world to integrate herbal treatment into their healthcare system, he believes Nigeria cannot afford to be left behind, since there is a lot of revenue that could be generated through the development of the Nigerian herbal healthcare.
The second one is SAPFAT5. SAPFAT5, as the name implies, fat burner. It is a fat burner of a very high class, very, very effective at lowering cholesterol, very effective at burning fat of fibroid, fat of cancer. You know, fat of fibroid and that of cancer have similarities. That of fibroid is a losing mass innervated by blood here and there, whereas that of cancer is a very hardened mass of tissues. But it has been seen in laboratory experiment that both can be dissolved by the use of SAPFAT and other combinations.
One unique feature of all Halamin products is the fact that they are all derivatives of the various food items consumed by people, thus the question of side effects does not even arise.
And also, while undergoing some tests in the lab in the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development in Idu with SAPFAT5, it was found that it has an immunomodulating effect, which makes it adaptable as a vaccine for cancer. And in this particular instance, it can be used for a month and it confers cancer protection for 3 months, which means one can buy the combination 3-4 times in a year to cover, especially for those who are prone to cancer. And as we hear from the report of cancer now, everybody is now prone to cancer.
For this leading researcher of herbal medicine, the future is not only bright for his range of Halamin herbal products, it is equally promising for all ranges of herbal products since they are natural to almost 80% of the world's population.
And that's our package on today's edition of Your Health. If you have learned one or two things, why not be our special guests? Same time, same station. Till then, stay healthy and bye for now.